You can go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will call this meeting to order at 12:04 p.m. And I would also like to acknowledge the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. So quick roll call. Councillor Cleary was unable to attend. We have Mr. McQueen. Valeria is not here from what I can see. Marvin is here. Jennifer is not here. And I don't think Isaac attended today as well. And thank you, Dorothy, for being here. So next we will move on to the approval of the minutes from the March 25th meeting. Are there any requests for corrections or amendments? No? Hearing none, I will ask for a mover and a seconder on the following motion that the minutes of the March 25th, 2024 Investment Policy Advisory Committee meeting be approved as presented.
I can move.
I can second.
Okay, moved by Mr. McQueen and seconded by Mr. Rosario. All those in favor signify by saying yay.
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 All those opposed say nay. And the motion passes. You have to bear with me, I only have one arm. Approval of the order of business and approval of additions and deletions. We will move on to the approval of the order of business. Dorothy, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No additions or deletions have been received through the clerk's office.
Great, thank you. And are there any additions or deletions from the members?
No.
Not from me.
Okay, hearing none. I will ask for a mover and a seconder on the following motion that the agenda of the September 9th, 2024 Investment Policy Advisory Committee meeting be approved as presented.
I can move.
I will second.
Moved by Mr. Rosario and seconded by Mr. McQueen. And all those in favor signify by saying yay.
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 All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion is carried. Okay, next is business arising out of the business. Sorry, business arising out of the minutes. Apparently, I've broken my mouth as well. There are no business arising out of the minutes. And next, we call for a declaration of conflict of interests. Does anyone have a conflict that they would like to declare?
No.
Not that I know of.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to consideration of deferred business. We have none, and that brings us into reports. So first up is the Treasurer's report for the quarter ending December 31st, 2023. This was circulated already to you through the agenda package, and I'm just going to give a quick overview of the report. This is, again, an older one, going back to close to a year ago now, 9 months ago. This was an investing quarter, so we did actually purchase some investments. We made 8 money market investments during that quarter. And the total at the end of the quarter for money market investments was $206 million, an average cost of $25 million and a term of 204 days. We did not purchase any additional bonds during the quarter, but we did have one mature fairly late in the quarter, which left us with an ending face value of $50 million in the bonds. And our operating fund investment income for the end of the quarter totaled 4.9 million, just a little over 4.9 million. We had budgeted 3.6. However, we did have a higher rate of return than we expected. We actually had 1.27. We were only anticipating 1.18. And we also had higher cash balances during that quarter. So as a result, we had that higher income. So the actual rate of return for the 12 months ending December 31st met the projected rate of 4.55 for the year. Well, for the rolling 4 quarters, not for the fiscal year, just to clarify. Quickly, we'll go through the money market performance as well. We were quite pleased with our performance. We had a return of 5.67. If we had invested instead in bankers acceptance or deposit notes, we would have had 5.25. So we were very happy with that. We had just we had 663 million in the financial institution bank accounts, between bank accounts, term deposits, and GICs at the end of the quarter. That does include all related agencies. So we have Halifax Water, all of our reserve funds, as well as operating. Moving next into the government half of the money market. We also did well there. We had a 1.24% for the quarter, annualized to 4.97, so just under 5%. The average yield of the 1-year benchmark T-bill was just 4.92. So we exceeded it a little bit. And our rolling 1-year return was 4.48. Okay, moving on to bonds. As noted earlier, we did not purchase any bonds. We did have one that matured. So at the end of the quarter, December 31st, we had 50 million remaining in the bond portfolio. And it actually matured in June. So it was a 1.37% instrument. So quite a bit lower than what we were seeing in our financial institution and government half for money market. So overall, the money market part of the portfolio achieved a 5.23% 1-year rolling rate. Overall, we were at 4.55, as noted before. The money market median was 4.93, so our money market did exceed that. However, overall, we were a little bit lower. Again, the performance of the bond market had an impact on that. Bonds, we had a 1.2% return. And obviously, if you look at the comparisons, quite a bit lower than the current bond market. Again, we bought those bonds long before the Bank of Canada started increasing the rates. So for the operating investment income, I think I'll just skip it for this one, and it's more important when we get to the end of the fiscal year and we can review it there. And also for the subsequent to end of quarter reporting, probably less important to be discussed in this one, as we'll talk about a little bit more when we get to the next report. So does anybody have any questions on that before we move on to the next report?
I think I'll hold off till the next report, probably similar questions. So yeah.
Okay.
I'll hold off until you do the next report.
Okay, that sounds great.
Well, I don't have any question yet.
Okay. All right. So the next item is the Treasurer's report for the quarter ending March 31st, 2024. Again, this report was circulated to you through the agenda package, and we'll just do an overview of that as well. This was not an investing quarter. We did have 8 investments that carried over, so the ones that we had purchased carried over, and we had a total value of money market instruments of 177 million, average cost of 25 million, and term of 221 days. Again, we had a $50 million bond portfolio balance at the end of the quarter. Our operating fund investment income was 4.6 million for the 3 months ending March 31st. We had originally budgeted 2.4 million. Because that's not an investing quarter, typically we have lower cash, so we typically would see less investment income. However, the positive variance resulted from, again, much higher than expected cash balances over the reporting period. And the rate of return was also quite a bit higher than what we had projected. When we did these original budgets, which would have been a full year pretty much before this, we were anticipating that the Bank of Canada was going to start dropping their rates sooner than they actually did. So we had projected 1.18% quarterly return, and we actually had 1.32. Moving into the money market performance for the financial institution half. We ended the quarter with about $527 million between GIC's term deposits and bank accounts. And again, this includes our related agencies such as Halifax Water, HRM Reserve, and our operating funds. The income from this provided a quarterly return of 1.43, so we were very happy with that, and it annualized out to 5.71, so very happy with that. And again, if you used the banker's acceptance and various deposit notes as a comparison, we had 61 basis points lift. They had 5.10 as their yield for that period. Moving into the government half, again, did not change substantially from the previous quarter. We did have one investment that matured, so we had an ending balance of 177 million. The rate of return was 1.28 or annualized to 5.12. Again, very happy with that. Rolling 1 year return was 4.78. That would have been from lower returns earlier in the fiscal year when we still had sort of older T-bills sitting in the portfolio. The average yield of the benchmark 1 year T-bill was 4.73 over the reporting period. So the bond pool, again, not really any great change from the last report. We still had the bond with a maturity date of June the 2nd for $50 million and a yield of 1.37 sitting in the bond portfolio. So overall, just wanted to make note that we had changed, as agreed by the committee, our benchmark to be the average yield of the 3-month Canadian T-bill over the reporting period. So during that time, the benchmark was set to 4.95. Our 1 year return was actually 4.88. So that 4.88 included the bonds, which again kind of drag our yield down. Staff notes the variance is due to continued low yield bond holdings. That bond was purchased in late 2021. At that time, the T-bill was only 0.63%, and this was 1.37. So at the time, it was a good investment. So moving into the overall results for the fiscal year, we had originally budgeted 12 million, and that was again based on seeing the Bank of Canada start reducing the overnight rate. We expected to see that towards the end of the fiscal. It did not happen. So we ended up with an actual return of 16.8 million for a variance of 4.8 million, positive variance of 4.8 million, I will add. So again, very happy with those results. It was more a result of the Bank of Canada did not do what we thought it was going to do because inflation stayed stubbornly high. ESG, again, we did a counterpart review of our ESG in both reports and found that we were above average. No significant upgrades or downgrades were identified. And on the subsequent events on June 5th, that was when we started to see the Bank of Canada lowering the overnight rate. Went down to 4.75, which was the first decrease in more than 4 years. Core inflation rate continues to ease while the bank still sees a sign of economic growth. The Governing Council still anticipates a steady return to the 2% inflation. So as you know, since this report, we have also had 2 more decreases in the overnight rate. We're now sitting at 4.25 is the Bank of Canada overnight rate. I think, yes. So our outlook hasn't really changed. We still anticipate that the investment bank accounts and the GICs do provide a higher overall return and also give us a lot of liquidity. So the strategy is to continue to maximize those returns by investing in short-term surplus cash and high interest savings accounts. We always want to balance out the portfolio though with the government sector. We've been purchasing primarily T-bills and also bonds, which provides some diversification, but also keeps a very low level of risk. So that's really all for the second report, which is March 31st, 2024. We did achieve an overall return of 4.88, as I mentioned. The benchmark was 4.95. Again, the bond portfolio did drag us down a little bit there. And we also started to see the T-bills start to sort of slide down in anticipation of a Bank of Canada rate cut, which did happen. All right, so that's all I have on this. And again, I'd like to open the floor to questions. Robert, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, okay. Just so question on the long-term bond side. So you had the last remaining bond matured in June. Are you looking at, did you say you've purchased new bonds since then, or?
We did actually purchase a new bond during the spring investing. So in May, early May, we did buy one bond. We only bought the one. We had, inventory was terrible. We were trying to find them and we had terrible inventory, but we did manage to pick up a Ontario green bond actually. So that was a win for us as well. We do like to support our ESG initiatives as much as we can. So the green Ontario bond provided the return that we were looking for without really sacrificing it because it was ESG. So we're very happy with that. We will continue to look for bonds. We will be investing again in a few months, couple months. Yeah, 2 more months. We'll be investing again, and we will probably continue to look for bonds when we can get them at, a good yield and at the right duration. We don't like to go too long on the curve, not just from a yield perspective, but just from a liquidity perspective. We always work with our manager of reserves and our director of financial reporting first before we make any long-term investing decisions. Their advice to us recently has been, don't go too far out on the curve. Don't lock us in for too long, at least any large amount. So that's why we decided to just go with I think it was around a 35 million green bond with Ontario, relatively short term. But we will be looking at other options when we invest in November.
Okay.
That was a very long-winded answer. I hope that helped.
No, that's good. I think, I had a couple follow-ups, so I think you answered them. So just on the ESG side, have you given any other consideration to looking at different standards other than the S&P, or you're satisfied that that's meeting your needs?
We're working with our environmental group on some various initiatives going on, so that may change, but it's really too early to tell. But we are looking at what we can do from a sort of finance overall, including us. This is not just revenue, or not just treasury, but all of revenue, all of finance. What can we do to contribute to our ESG initiatives? Like I said, I may look at some other things, but for right now, S&P seems to be working pretty well for us. Did you have anything specific that you thought?
I don't. I was I know that there are, it's constantly developing. So I just wonder if,
yeah, this is one of those few areas of finance that has not really settled down, and there's not really a standard.
No,
and everybody's using a slightly different benchmark. So we decided to go with this one. It seemed to provide the sufficient breadth for us. They have the major banks, which is where the majority of our funds are invested, are part of S&P and rated there. The provinces are not necessarily rated at this point. Not sure what's going to happen with that. At least S&P is not rating them. I don't know if other people are, but yeah, it's something we are looking at, which is, I can't tell you definitively what we will do in the future.
Okay, thank you.
It's evolving. Any other questions? Marvin, did you have anything you
Well,
wanted to
I
add?
see that the performance was mostly above the benchmarks. So I would say that's satisfactory. So yeah, no question. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
all
Vicky.
right. Yep, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to let the members know that the meeting, due to technical difficulties, the meeting is not live streamed, but it is being recorded. So we will upload the recording after.
Thanks, Dorothy.
No worries.
Sorry if I missed your hand.
That's okay.
I get so excited talking about ESG. I just,
It's
uh,
a new thing.
well, yeah, I mean, it's a new thing and it's important to us as a municipality.
Yes.
And, you know, it's important to me personally, but it's important to
Yeah.
us as a municipality. So I want to make sure that we give it the, you know, the weight and the attention it deserves. And it's something that I've done a fair amount of research into, so I'm very excited about it, and sometimes can get a little, yeah, a little too excited about it. But yeah, that's where we are. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next item, which is amendments to the investment policy. Before beginning discussion, we will need a mover and a seconder on the following motion. That the Investment Policy Advisory Committee recommend that Halifax Regional Council approve amendments to the investment policy to 1, remove reference to the Investment Policy Advisory Committee, and 2, establish the Audit and Finance Standing Committee as the policy committee. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please?
I can move.
Thank you.
I can second.
Moved by Mr. McQueen, seconded by Mr. Rosario. So I guess before we kind of get into this a little bit, I'm assuming, I think you guys would have all got an email on this before you were aware that this was going to be brought up in the meeting. Did you have any questions in particular about the memo or?
I guess the only question I have is, my understanding is that it's gone through council and you know, the decisions are made. So essentially this will be our last meeting is my understanding.
Yeah,
Correct?
if
Yeah.
we had had it in person, I would have brought us a cake. But with my arm,
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay close
Yeah.
to the office as much as possible. Traveling
Yeah.
around is not easy.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
also felt that there was a better chance we would get quorum if we had it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I first of all, I want to say, you know, thank you very much to the committee for everything that they have done. I really appreciate it. Robert, you've been a real inspiration when it comes to bonds, and I always think of you when I'm looking at various things. Marvin, it's been a pleasure to get to know you, and of course the others as well who couldn't join us today. So, you know, I just want everybody to understand that this is not sort of reflection on the committee itself. This is an initiative that was taken by, you know, at a higher level and looking at all of the various boards and commissions that we have, trying to, you know, streamline it a little bit. And I'm not sure if there was anybody else who wanted to speak to this. Dorothy, I thought Laura was in here. No?
I am
Yes, she
here,
is.
Vicky. Yeah, so I'm Laura Lewis, Deputy Clerk, Council and Committee Services. Certainly here for any questions as well, but I think Vicky summed up the process of the governance review very well, which did apply to a number of boards and committees and was meant to be a holistic review and is a reflection, I think, of the governance structure, not of, you know, the volunteers that have put their time and effort into coming and serving and giving you know, their time to us and valuable feedback. So just want to echo that as well and give some recognition to the members of this committee.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's not a reflection on this committee or any committee in particular. It's just sort of a overall initiative. Okay. So if there's no other questions, we will take the vote. So all those in favor signify by saying yay.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. So we didn't have any added items, and there is no date of next meeting either. So I guess the next thing to do is to adjourn. But again, I just want to thank everybody again for everything that you've done and for attending these meetings and giving us your full attention and reading the reports. We do really, really appreciate it. And you know, you're always welcome to drop me an email. You have my email addresses. Drop me an email anytime you want to have a say. We're always open to the public having a say in what we do. So can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Nobody wants to leave?
No, this is it, right? I'll second.
We're good, Dorothy? Do we have everything we need?
Yep, we're good. Thank you so much, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Laura, thank you so much. And Dorothy, thank you so much for all the work you've done on this. I really appreciate it.